What's the date today?
March 27th.
It's March 27th,
2019.
2019.
Yes.
And so we're going to do the history questions real quick. So we'll start with Maureen. What is your full Muggle name?
Maureen Davies. Didn't have middle name because I was Mormon and supposed to use my maiden name.
Okay. And your parents' full names?
Arthur Earl Davies and Dorothy Nor Davies.
Is Nor her maiden name?
Right.
Okay. And your birth date?
May 4th, 1957,
And where were you born?
in Murray, Utah.
And how many siblings do you have?
I have 6 sisters and 2 brothers.
And where are you in the order?
I'm 8 of 9.
You're 8 of 9. Whoa. How many marriages have you had?
3.
3. Oh wow.
All to me.
Oh. I did too, but I was okay.
Well, first was our big white wedding,
Right.
and then first legal, and then in Utah, it's like we don't know if Utah's going to accept a California license, so we just got married again.
Okay. So what year was the first one?
1990.
1990. It was fall, wasn't it?
It was spring,
Spring.
but
Oh,
it
spring.
came out in fall.
Yeah,
in the
the article
newspaper. It
came
was
out
in the
fall, you're
newspaper.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
All right.
yeah.
And then when was the second marriage and where?
2008 in Oakland, California. It was just before Proposition 8 was voted on, so we wanted to get right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the third one?
The 2013 when everybody
December,
was
whatever it was.
yeah,
Awesome.
Christmas present.
Do you have any children?
No.
No?
No.
Well, we have people we call our children. Oh, no. Okay.
All right. What high school did you go to?
Murray High School.
Okay. Do you have college experience?
Graduated from the University of Utah and also got an LPN license from Utah Technical College, which
What's
is
LPN?
licensed practical nurse,
Oh, okay.
which is now Salt Lake Community College.
Okay. When did you graduate from the U?
1983,
And when did you get your LPN?
1976.
Okay. Awesome. To you.
Okay.
Your full Muggle name.
Brenda Sue Voisard.
You don't like to sue, apparently. Hey, she's recording it. I don't know.
I gave her permission.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And your parents' full Muggle names.
Erna, what's her middle name? Marie. Erna Marie Voisard
Her maiden.
was Borchers. Was her maiden
How do you
name.
spell the maiden name?
Borchers.
Okay.
And then dad is Charles Richard Voisard.
Voisard?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. And your birth date?
3/30/63.
You're young. I thought you were older than me. And where were you
I'm
born?
old enough. Yes?
Where were you born?
Russia, Ohio.
Russia, Ohio.
Russia, Ohio.
How many siblings?
2 siblings.
And what's the order you're in?
I'm the oldest, and then there's 2 younger sisters.
Okay. And we've covered your marriages, no children. Where'd you go to high school?
Russia, Ohio. Rushi High School. We say Rushi High School. We wouldn't want anyone to think we're communists, so we say Rushi.
Rushi instead of Russia,
Uh-huh.
even though it's spelled with an A. But
It's spelled like Russia.
wow. Rushi High. And college?
Miami University of Ohio,
And when did you graduate from there?
1985.
Okay.
And then I came here,
84.
no, 85. And then I came here in the fall to start grad school.
Okay.
And then I got master's in 1988
At the U?
at the U, and then
In what?
social psych,
Okay.
and doctorate in 1994.
You are Dr. Brenda Voisard.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Oh, I'm impressed.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
94, yeah, in
And that was
psychology.
that was at the U as well?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. That's it.
that's it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So that part's done.
Emergency here. Oh, are you recording?
I'd love to welcome everyone here this evening. My name is Connell O'Donovan. Becky Moss and I back there, we are the co-queens of the Oratory Project, which is the committee of the Utah Queer Historical Society. And we have a regular oral history project that we're setting up, And that's where we come to your home and interview you privately. The oratory is where we do this publicly and have community leaders come and talk about how fabulous they are. And so this month we have, oh, no, I'm not ready for that yet.
Okay, all right.
Before we get to that, next month, April 21st, which is a Sunday at 1, we have our business meeting for the Queer Historical Society. And please welcome to come and see what we're doing. We've got lots of programs and committees and actions and events coming up. Then 3 days later, Wednesday, April 24th, which is a month from now, at 6:30, we have our next oratory. And I'm ecstatic to have both Carol Gowdy, who, does anybody not know who Carol is?
Nobody knows.
Some don't.
And Kate Kendall from the National Center for Lesbian Rights.
Yeah.
So
You should sell
excited.
tickets to that one.
She'll be flying in from California just to be with us and share her story from when she was the staff lawyer at the ACL Utah. And then when, I think that, was that it? I think that's what,
Yeah.
But Kate was born and raised here in Utah,
Yeah.
so really excited to have her come and dispense her words of wisdom to us. And then the following month, Wednesday night, May 29th at 6:30, we have Peter Christie from Ballet West who will come
Wow.
and talk about his life and activism and all that great
I've got a
stuff.
message from Carol Bernardi on my phone. She apologizes she can't be here, and she wishes you all the best, and she really, really wishes she could be here. You guys are lovely.
Sweet.
Okay, love to
Thank
Carol.
you.
Without further ado, we have with us tonight the delicious and delightful Maureen Davies and Brenda Voisard, two of the stars of our Utah community here, and I'm so excited that they're here. Take it away.
Cheering section.
Oh, how sweet.
He goes to AA meetings with my brother, and he always, that's his applause.
That's his applause, okay.
One more thing. Randy made delicious, fresh homemade
Yes,
chocolate chip cookies. Help yourself.
thank you. So thank you for being here tonight, and we wanted to thank Connell and Ben and Becky and the others who are involved creating this Oral History Project, which is new, just a few months old, and they began this, and we have enjoyed so much coming. Lucy Malin, our good friend, was the first person to speak, and then Kevin Hillman, another good friend, was last month. And for those of us who have been around a long time, it feels like Old Home Week, and it feels so good to remember and talk with one another. But I also know that there are people here who weren't here in those days and are like weren't even born then and things like that. And so were you born?
When was that?
Derek? In 93.
Yeah.
Okay, you were born. All right.
I started out 9 years.
This 9 years. Okay. So to be here, we feel like is you giving us such a gift, those of you who weren't here and who are here to listen and be a witness, and it tells us that it mattered what we did, and it's very heartfelt. Thank you to you all to be here as well. And we also want to remember our ancestors, some of who are behind us on the wall, who probably couldn't imagine that we could gather with straight friends and gay friends and all kinds of people together and celebrate the things that we have accomplished together. Some of them, though, probably did imagine it and helped us get here by their actions as well. And then we want to also remember people who still feel they cannot be here. They cannot come to the Pride Center, that it's too scary, or that they feel isolated and unloved. And there was a song in the 80s. Meg Christian was a women's song writer, and she wrote a song about that. So some of the lyrics are, let's have a song for the ones who aren't here and won't be coming in late. Home All Alone and the Family and won't be coming out tonight. Wish I Could Know All the Lovers and Friends kept from gathering. And Let's Have a Song for the Ones Who Aren't Here and won't be coming out tonight. And so we do want to remember that there are those people too, and whenever we can, we want to reach out, right? And thank you to the allies who are here. And we have such good friends here with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here as well. We felt so much love through the years, so much more love than hate. So much more for us about building a community that supports all of us and who we are. And so we wanted to talk about that tonight. Building a community. And so we went back through pictures, and unfortunately I had a mullet. I'll just say it. So when you see him, you'll know that's me. And we went back through and looked at all these things, and so we have, we want to talk about our weddings, because we had several, and then we want to talk about the Gay Lesbian Community Council of Utah. We want to talk about South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. And then in the back we had placed some other things on the Lesbian Task Force of Now, and then the March on Washington. So, Older and Wiser Lesbians.
That was a mostly all social group, and several of the members of the OWLS group, Older Wiser Lesbians, also belong to the Lesbian Task Force of Now. And that was all, well, it was definitely social, but it was, we had Friday forums where we would get together, I think once a month, and have talks on, well, I think that's something later. We would have forums.
Jackets on.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yes.
This was one of our favorite forums of all time.
Yay!
We came showing how we could be wearing almost the same clothes, and one of us would be looking butch and one of us would be looking femme. Even if we went to the same.
Even with the same jacket.
Yeah.
So we did a Friday forum, and they were alternatives to going to the bar. So there hadn't really been a way to meet one another and spend time with each other, meet people you don't already know, right? And just have a gathering place. And so we would do this, and we'd have topics. So one topic that we did was Butch Femme. And we played with that because there were like 20 kinds of butch and 20 kinds of femme, and we had people decide what they were. And on the walls are the actual papers still from 1991 or whatever it was, and some of the pictures that we took at the time of who decided where they were. And Connell was a traditional femme along with me. And so we urge you to, decide which one you might be and take a picture tonight if you'd like. And part of that, playing with that, was the idea that in the like 50s especially, or what have you, women who were going out, one would be in a dress and one would be in a suit, and that was the usual. And so then as feminism came in, feminism said, oh, that's heterosexual, that's like you're trying to be heterosexual, so we don't want to be that, we want to be androgynous. And so we want to all wear the same thing and not have butch femme. But those women who were clearly women and yet butch and femme and going out on a date were putting themselves out there much more than women who were dressing androgynous and nobody knew, right? So we wanted to reclaim it and to say, if you feel like you are on the spectrum of butch and femme and you want to say that you are, and let's go for it, and let's not think we all have to dress the same and be androgynous. Because feminism is supposed to be about choice of every kind. So we played with it that night and had a lot of fun, and guys can be whatever, and gals and, transgender folks, and we can all define. Oh, you have something to say about it.
Oh, it was just fun. We had purse, in the 70s, the purses had handles on them. So we would have people that didn't know whether they were pick up a purse. And if they picked it up like a toolbox, then they were probably on the bullshit of that spectrum. And if they picked it up like a purse, then they were probably femme. You could also look what contents, what was in there. To see what maybe.
What do you have in there?
It's a clamp I borrowed from.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, see what's in line.
Yeah.
Oh,
So whatever is in your bag, I never called it a purse. But that was
Toolkit.
it was fun for us, and over time I considered myself a corporate butch, but
Back in the day.
yeah, now I'm just
A
try to be
corporate
andro. Well, I was at the time this workshop was.
She wore sort of a suit.
Yeah, I wore dresses.
But you also wore like sort of a blazer with slacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the other things the Lesbian Task Force did that I think was one of the most useful was we put out 7 versions of these over the years. These were counseling services, information, legal services, books, and then churches, information. So we put out a new version of this several times. I got 7 different ones. I was a historian of the Lesbian Task Force for a while, and we've got 7 different versions of this out and about in Utah. And I think it was really helpful at a time when most of us only resources were the bars.
Yeah. So the time period I should have said in the beginning, the time period we're kind of talking about is like the late 80s, early 90s. That's kind of the time period. Yeah.
And Out and About has been co-opted by one of the television stations or something, but we came up with it. I mean, yes.
Yes.
They don't use our logo, I hope.
No,
And they aren't doing your subject matter.
no, they aren't, but they took the title.
And let's see, what else did we do? We brought a lot of performers in through the Lesbian Task Force of now. So this was actually a function of National Organization for Women Utah chapter. And that was interesting too because in the 70s-ish, now wasn't so sure about having out lesbians being part of their group. And then it became more and more to where we do have the solidarity to do that, and especially in Utah, we all banded together. So, really, I keep looking at Lucy because she was formative in that and fundamental in that. We had to band together in Utah. If we had similar issues, we needed to work together. So, but we brought a lot of performers in.
Alex Dawkin, lesbian folk singer. She sang songs about women for women in 1990. We brought Lynn Lavner in 1990. She came back again to sing at the Pride Festival, but we brought her in. Also, Carolyn Gage had a one-woman show about her perception of what Joan of Arc would have been like. It was exciting to bring her. We brought in Judy Fiel and Catherine Warner several different times. A group, Musica Femina, which is a flute and violin duo. Another person we brought in that helped now was this Sharon Kowalski. Why can't Sharon Kowalski come home? The author of this book. She and her partner had been, her partner had been Sharon Kowalski was in a car accident in 1983. And then because they weren't out to their parents, the parents just took Sharon and just took her away and wouldn't let Karen visit. And it was like an 8-year legal battle to get her to be able to have visitation and custody eventually. But that was a big thing, promising us to hurry up and get our legal papers, visitation, before we were able to get married. This was a big deal. So we brought her in and had an auction for her. People donated stuff to help pay the legal fees to get Sharon home. And we looked at her up, and they are living together now.
Still.
Nice, still.
So Sharon, her dad had her go in a nursing home with no rehab. And so for 8 years there was nothing. She was not allowed visitors, etc. And and Karen but Sharon was able. She barely could do it, but she was able to write. Was it? I want to be with Karen, but no one. So it just really brought home how what's that, fragile, how
Our relationships
vulnerable
Tenuous.
we were
Right.
without legal recourse really at the time. So when Karen did get custody of her, it was a huge thing in the gay and lesbian community that we finally had that legality behind
Right.
us.
And they were in Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. And so at this point, just a few years ago, Sharon started being able to talk. So because as soon as Karen was with her, they started rehab, and she has made progress. But of course, a lot was lost. So it was a powerful moment. And so we brought Karen. She was traveling the U.S. Trying to work on these issues.
Raise money to continue to fight for custody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of the other forums we did were, we had 2 local attorneys, and speaking about legal issues for lesbians. We had somebody come and speak on women's health issues. We had a gay video night. We had somebody talk about addictions, and then another speaker on lesbians and religion, and that was just me flipping through our book back there. We also had some fun activity. I think it would have been a fundraiser. It was called a psychic fair. We had Madame Lasagna. She had some Italian name that we could not pronounce. We called her Madame Lasagna. She did a psychic reading, and I did biorhythms, but we had different things.
It was new to have computers, and Maureen was doing the biorhythms on the
Yeah.
computer. It was really-
So that was a
stuff.
fun. And another thing we did with the owls was we had, and this has started a lifelong tradition for Brenda and I, but we had people that didn't have family come to our house for Thanksgiving, and we took out all of our furniture and put in card tables and stuff, and we had a traditional Thanksgiving, and we've since then been making new families all the time, and that's been good.
Desert Mountain States Conference was a gathering of people, gay activists. And do we know the year?
1989. But it was
1989?
here in Utah?
No, it was in Las Vegas
Oh,
when
was
we
the one I'm
went.
thinking.
I only know the Utah one.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
89.
Might have been after that, and we found out Vegas was more
Way.
conservative than Utah in some ways.
Wow.
We
Vegas.
went there.
What?
Yeah, we were
For
really
the gay
surprised.
community, they weren't out. They weren't out at
They
all.
were afraid to work at the casino. You know, they couldn't get jobs in the casinos. I mean, we were out walking,
It's not
holding
what you
hands
think.
in the street, and they, you know, were scared. So,
Yeah.
and then we did a protest. I think probably with now, but the lesbian task force would have definitely been there. I've got some pictures of us going protesting Orrin Hatch's behavior at the Clarence Thomas. He did a women's conference for years that drove us nuts.
Yeah. Okay, and then the Gay Lesbian Community Council of Utah. So that started in the mid '80s, and that was a way for the burgeoning communities start to come together and work together. So I have a thing on this one, and we could kind of pass these around. They're really light, but the member organizations included things like Employee Association of Gays and Lesbians of U.S. West. They were way ahead.
Eagle.
Eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Eagle Forum.
Oh, Gay and Lesbian Democrats. Interweave was a Gay and Lesbian Unitarian Universalist. The Royal Court was there. People with AIDS Coalition.
Quack was part of it. Queer Utah Aquatic Club.
Yeah.
'Cause I was in that.
So this is some pictures of various activities and things we did with that group, and we found, so Connell, maybe you know better, but we had something that said the first march for Pride was 1990.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and
June-
so
June-
that,
June 27th.
June 27th, and so that came from this group coming together and saying, we need to take over the streets, get in the streets.
That was me.
That was
I
you!
organized it, yeah. I
Woohoo!
was the chair of the Public Relations Committee, and I was like, yeah, Pride March is public relations.
And I had just got a new job in a big stuffy corporation, and I was scared, but we went. And I was happy about that. It's
Thank you.
so much different. Yeah.
Yeah. It was scary to do those things at the time. This is a picture of the neo-Nazis that came to some of our events.
I didn't want her to put that in the picture and give them equal.
She didn't want it in the poster, but there they are. But we kind of never knew what they had in mind when they would come to our events. And so we, it was you, Lucy, or Kevin mentioned when they spoke that at an early Pride Day, they came, the neo-Nazis came, and we surrounded them, and then we all turned our backs to them. So we had them encircled, and but not giving them our attention. And then the police came and talked to them, and they dispersed.
Nice.
So it was very empowering.
Yeah, that is.
Not to
Very
pay
much.
attention to them. Yeah.
Yeah. We worked with the Salt Lake Tribune. So in the 91, 92 time period, I was the chair of the Gay and Lesbian Community Council of Utah. And so we reached out to some of the establishment, one of which was the Tribune editor. And this is a copy of my letter I typed for him. I think it's typing, don't you?
Yeah.
And we were saying that as an organization with 30 members, 30 member organizations, that we would like to talk to them about the coverage of the gay lesbian community because the coverage was either nil or negative. And we said, so we met with them and we said, there are a lot of things to write about. And they're like what? And so we said, well, we just got married. So, and other people were getting married. And this is the microfiche that Maureen went and got.
I lost my original.
You might want to explain that for the younger people.
A way of storing knowledge. I don't know. So there was a 3-page spread in the Tribune, and it had.
Tribune was a lot bigger at the time, too. I mean, this was huge. This picture, well, that's a little bit blown up, but it was bigger than that.
I think it was this size.
Yeah.
The our picture, but other people's pictures as well, and information about all kinds of things going on in the gay community. It was the first time that there was really some good coverage of that. So again, we were a little nervous. Like,
Aren't you the
would there
first
be?
same-sex couple to be married by a religion in Utah?
Yeah. Well, that's probably.
Can you repeat the
Probably
question? Repeat the
No.
Were we
question.
the first same-sex couple married within a religious community?
We had known several people that had gotten married, even probably, well, it was union. We were not allowed to call it marriage. But as far as I know, we were the first ones with the white wedding and the traditional
Wedding gowns.
sit-down dinner and
In a church.
in a church. And
What church was it?
It's the first
First
Unitarian
Church.
church was where it was held, but the minister was from South Valley Unitarian.
Oh.
So yes, we think it was probably the first white wedding. We'll say that. And should we just go there? I think we can go there. So, the other thing I was going to say is with the, we also reached out to the police to
Yeah.
work with them more closely because there were people getting beat up and the police would take their time getting there or just stand by. And so we made inroads there as well at that time period. And we had a person, Officer Dave Ward, assigned to us to work with us on our issues. And there was an anti-violence project that existed at the time, and we really worked together with them on that.
And he came every month. We had a community council meeting every month, and he came to them and listened to issues that we'd had over the month. One of the most oppressive things that I think happened was, I think it was 90 or 91, the city council building had an Anne Frank exhibit, And all the other places that was, they weren't censoring it. But in Utah, they were afraid because of a Utah law about advocating for homosexual. They actually took some of the pictures out of the exhibit and wouldn't show them.
That we're talking about homosexuals being persecuted during the Holocaust.
Right, and then they were explaining why we wore the pink triangle was one of the pictures. You know, I mean, that's not promoting homosexuality. And so as far as I know, it was the first time we had an effective phone tree. I looked on the Associated Press, I searched that on the internet last night, and there were 200 people that showed up to protest at the city county building, and they put those back.
Yeah.
I think Robert Austin was one of the ones, I don't know who else. Yeah. The AP gave credit to Robert, but that was pretty substantial in my mind. The other, I think, the Stonewall Center came out of this organization.
This Pride Center came from the Stonewall Center, which came from the Gay Lesbian Community Council.
And then, before we get to the wedding, the 1993 March on Washington, I think the Gay and Lesbian Community Council had a lot to do with that.
Helped organize that. And so we had over 100 of us. Lucy was there. Were you there? Lucy was there. Becky, were you there? Yes.
What was it?
The March on Washington, 1993. Didn't go that one. So we were all in pink, and there were over 100 of us from Utah, and we have pictures of that in the back.
Yeah.
And we filled the mall at Washington. And so the thing that we remember about that is we were all using the subway. It was a Sunday. There was no one downtown unless you were going to that, right? So you're on the subway platform, and across are the people going the other way, and they're on the platform. And we would just be yelling at each other and be like, woohoo! And we're just so happy to be standing on the subway platform together.
And sometimes you had to wait for another subway because it was so full.
It was so
And
fun.
yet, it was just fun. I mean, how many times do you cheer when you got to wait for two subways to get to somewhere? You know, it was exciting.
Well, it felt like we took over the whole city.
You were there! Yes,
Yeah.
it did. It really did.
And then we didn't know about the Dyke March until we got into the city, and we heard all this, drumming and just
Screaming.
yeah, and we thought something really seriously had gone wrong. And it was so cool to get out and just be women, It was a fun time for me. Yeah.
But I think being where you feel like you take over city at the time, we didn't hardly even see each other. And then suddenly we're the city. And to have that feeling of normality almost come to us, right? Because we always felt so different. So that was neat. Yeah. What else do you remember? No? Just good. It was good. Yeah. So the
Matthew Shepard's mom, the concert
Yes.
thing.
Yes, the concert.
I think Ellen's mom spoke. Matthew Shepard.
Yes.
And
And
who was the singer? The guy.
what's her face? She's coming here, Park City.
Oh.
She's coming. Who's coming? She was a lesbian. Oh, I can't think of her name, but I know who you mean. It was great. The other thing is we are Unitarians, and we have been part of South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society for 30 years. And this is a picture of our building, and this is a picture that has a rainbow flag on it because since, did we know the year?
92, I think.
92?
3.
92 or 3, we've had a rainbow flag on the front of our church. And it started with a sign that said hate-free zone. And then we wanted to talk more about love, so then we had on the side of love or something, and now we just have a flag. But it was our straight allies who worked to make this happen in that church. It wasn't the gay people. So that has been very powerful in our lives, and a community that has sustained us through all these years and been part of it. And so this picture was painted by a straight member of the congregation. And we have a goods and services auction where we auction off things and events, and it raises money for the church. So we were bidding on this, and so was another straight couple. And we kept thinking, won't they let us have it? It has the rainbow flag. Won't they let us have it? And then they just kept bidding us up, and so finally we had to stop. So Maureen goes over to them and says, is there any way I can buy that from you? Because we really, really wanted it. And they said, actually, we wanted to give it to you. We wanted to buy it, give the money to the church and give it to you because you guys have helped us learn about lesbian and gay and opened our eyes and made it seem more normal to us and made it seem, and we're so glad we're friends with you. And so it was such a wonderful gift. Yeah. So that's Alex and March. They're not here anymore. They're alive. They're not here. And in that church, we got married in 1990. And we can pass that around.
Are you talking about
Well, this is
First church.
First
Unitarian.
Church community, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we were in First Unitarian Church to have the marriage ceremony. But
First Church is the mother church, and they decided that we needed a congregation in the southern part of the valley in the mid 80s, late 70s, because we started in 83, and with support, we got money for the first 10 years from the First Unitarian Church to help us in our effort to establish ourselves in the south part of the valley. So, but we're all sort of the same.
So we got married because we were wanting a real formal wedding. The First Unitarian Church just got the red. Brenda likes to be
The molding,
the
fancy
family. She
church.
had a long train and a pretty red carpet to go down that aisle.
So we got together in 1985, and we had our wedding in 1990. So for 5 years, I was trying to talk her into it. And
That's true. And it's a good story because I was so opposed. But the reason why was because I didn't want to mimic heterosexual. We didn't have the same rights. We didn't have health insurance. I didn't want to give a voice to that kind of stuff. But then there's Brenda. She married her Barbie dolls. She has been practicing walking down the aisle since she was 3 years old. And so I got it that that's what she wanted, but I didn't want to make a parody of a wedding, and I was really resistant. Then Brenda went to her younger sister's wedding in Ohio, and they have a tradition. It's a farming community where the dance is actually called hog trough. So they would dance around, humiliate the oldest daughter if she wasn't married. And I was horrified. It's like, by God, if she wants to have a wedding, we'll give her a wedding. That was that, and then we had to have one exactly like what the Ohio ones were, with the whole community attending and the sit-down dinner, and we were doing it on a shoestring, but everybody, Lesbian Task Force, now several people came together, cooked a dinner so we could have that sit-down meal. The reason why I wore a gown, which was difficult for me.
it's still difficult to thought of.
I had a nephew I was helping to raise. My sister and I lived within a few houses to each other, so I could help her raise her son because she was working 60 hours a week, and he was 8 years old at the time. So he was, in another room, and he came out, and he's like, "Oh, which one of you is going to be the girl, and which is going to be the boy?" And I decided right then, we have a talk. We're both girls, and so that cleared it.
Well, and then he was our ring bearer, and he ended up with a good deal on that because we wanted lavender, cummerbund and tie, and we were fighting, and Maureen made me leave the room, and then she got him to wear it by.
Well, I didn't know the value of Game Boys at the time, but I told him I would buy him any one game, and he made me shake on it, and then I knew I overbid. I thought I was going to be in that room forever. He goes, "If this wasn't a girl's wedding, I would be able to wear black." He wanted to wear black. He was the only tuxedo in the whole wedding party. Anyway.
But we rented our gowns, and I think to this day that they thought there was a double wedding happening. We ordered invitations, and something went wrong with the invitations, and they had to reorder them. So probably one of us, it was either Maurice or Brendan or something happened, right? Like they couldn't believe it was two women's names, right? Somebody changed it probably.
When I asked them, they said, you don't want to know. So, we don't know.
But they fixed it.
They fixed
Oh,
it.
they fixed
They
it.
fixed
Yeah, they fixed it.
We felt,
Well, we didn't have any of these cake issues because we, you know, we walked in to the places and said, this is a lesbian wedding and we want. Now, that's a totally different thing whether people want to fight that. That's not what I'm talking about. But we wanted everyone that participated in our wedding, except for the dress people, to know what they were doing for us. So we had our rings custom made, each of our birthstones with a diamond, and our cake. We had a wedding planner, and she did the cake and the invitations. She was the one that said, "Oh yeah, I do lesbian weddings, or I do non-traditional weddings." And then she kept calling me up and said, "What's the tradition for this?" You know, and there isn't one. But so I said, every time you put the
whose name should be first?
yeah,
Who should
so I
be-
just
you
said
know.
every other time put the opposite one. Just mix it up. But she had lots of questions on that.
Yeah. And then we found our cake topper, which was two women in bridal gowns in the X-rated section of Cahoots. They were lost. They were GPS. It's just weird to think of. And so, yeah, if our minister would have said she was marrying us, that was illegal. So it was a union ceremony. And it was important to us at one point. We wrote the ceremony with her, and at one point she said, "I pronounce this union holy." And so to say, not only are we not going to hell, but in fact, this is a holy thing that we have between us, was really powerful for us.
One thing we didn't realize until we got the copy of that Salt Lake Tribune, she was quoted in the Tribune in 1992 as saying she was worried that it would look like a parody. So I wasn't the only one, and that was her words too. And so that was interesting how far it's come along since 1990.
Yeah. Last night when we were talking, Maureen was like, "Yeah, you wanted the whole Catholic thing." And then we had the pagan part that Lucy led. so it was quite the mix of rituals and ceremonies. It was wonderful. Then, which one should we do now? So then we, in 2008, got legally married in California.
Just before, I mean, like we started hearing about Proposition 8 getting closer and closer, we just went there, you know, dropped everything and went there and got married. And then in 2013, couldn't resist because we would figure with Utah laws, maybe if they had to marry us, maybe they wouldn't accept a California license. You don't know. So we got married three times.
And she says she won't marry me ever again. So, and just to say that it's not that old history, but that 2013, if anybody was there as well, I mean, you were there. I mean, the joy was palpable, and we had to wait in line 6 hours to get our darn marriage license, and we did not care. It was
well,
joyful.
we cared, but it was fun. There were people that were singing, and there were people bringing donuts and coffee, you know. And this was 2 days before Christmas, and that year Christmas was kind of anticlimactic. And Intermountain Healthcare that very year gave us health insurance at the next open enrollment, right after.
Maureen's retired from there, and I still work there. Nancy, husband, and Janet have been our colleagues there. These guys. So yeah, it's it was a really amazing thing. So I think we just wanted to say too with our church that in late 80s I was the religious education director at South Valley Unitarian.
And say what that means.
And so, so for me, what it meant was here I am a lesbian, and I'm the one in charge of what the children are learning in their Sunday school. And meanwhile, most churches were telling us we were wrong, and they would never let anyone near their kids. So, so that was really powerful for us at the time as well, that I was getting that opportunity. And the Art Church helped start the first gay straight alliance, I should say, at East High. And we've always had a sexuality program that included every kind of sexuality for our youth. We have it for adults now. Peg said it was great. I need to go.
It's funny because they call it owls our whole lives, but we met at an owls dance, so it's just
Older, wiser lesbians.
Yeah.
Older, wiser lesbians. And then they sometimes said older, wider lesbians. Now I know what that's about. And the words that we say every week at South Valley, I just wanted to say these are welcoming words. And I hope you all have felt this tonight as well. You are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love, how you speak, whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. If you come here with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, you are welcome here. So we feel very blessed to have had these ways of being connected to our community through the years, and very thankful that you guys wanted to come tonight and be with us. And I think that's everything we bared, right?
yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yes, questions?
So can you talk a little bit more about Utah Pride and how, I hear it was, could you just talk about the beginning?
It used to be like in Fairmont Park, little places where there was no shade or anything, but I kind of liked it better because, the Lesbian Task Force we always did lemonade stands, and all the little groups did something, we did our own food, and but it was more of it was much smaller, and
So it was more intimate?
yeah.
You knew everybody. It felt like a family reunion.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And it was the only time of year that you saw some people, so it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a funny thing because it's so wonderful to have so many people now and so much support. But it's just different. It's just different. Yeah.
I think that change started happening when we had, the Stonewall Center and a bigger organization, bigger budget. So it's been going on for as long as I can remember, probably early 80s, but that's as far as I remember back.
I just wanted to say one thing that this keeps reminding me of is that we're really lucky in Salt Lake to have this healthy lesbian and gay, trans, bi community. Other places don't have that. There's nothing in Portland. Dyke's walking down the street or a dime a dozen. Who cares? The mainstream is so mainstreamed that most of the large cities now do not have a community like this. And I'm really appreciative of it and very cognizant of it because it's unique. It's becoming more and more unique to have a building like this that provides all sorts of supportive programming and counseling for kids and all that. And so just be aware that it is very unique and something that we need to treasure. So
You guys have fought long and hard for it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I read in your bio you were director of the Women's Resource Center at the U.
Yeah, I was, I'm not director, but I don't know what my title was, but I was,
No.
I was
Counselor.
over the counseling that we did and training new counselors and
Oh,
things
okay.
like that. Yes. Yeah, so I was there 2 times. One time when I was younger and did research for them, and then a second time went back and ran things with the counseling piece for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there any queer things that you did with that? programming?
Well, yes, thanks for asking that, Colin, because we started a lesbian support group that grew huge. It grew so huge it almost wasn't a support group anymore. It was, I don't
What
know
year
what it
did
was.
that start?
So that would have been
Late 80s? No, late 80s.
late 80s, yeah. And that was another way that we just said we're good people. We're fundamentally good people. We have a lot to offer the community and each other. And so I think that's really been my effort all along, is to root out those messages of that made us feel less than, and made us feel that we were wrong, and find ways to support our self-esteem and our self-confidence, and be able to give what we have to give, not feel shut down. So.
Any other questions?
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about like your affiliation with your congregation and like how that came about. I'm assuming you might have like some kind of Mormon background. And most people tend to have like an ugly break away from their church, from religion. I just think that's really interesting.
We both have totally different stories. I was raised Mormon, but this is only my opinion, but I don't think that women are valued in the church. And I can't remember exactly, blacks were not even allowed to hold the priesthood when I was going to high school. There were just so many things that the prophecy would say, and I didn't agree with it, but then I had this logical thing in my head saying, well, if he speaks to God and then he said this stupid thing, then either God is not, I mean, so I had a really logical crisis way before I came out. So I did not want anything to do with church. Brenda was the one on that, and she can talk about it. But the one thing was I was so enjoying it, but so involved in the lesbian community that I started noticing I didn't have any other friends, different things to talk about. I didn't have any children in my life, which is important to me. So the church filled a social need, because all I was hearing, and it was important to me, the lesbian and gay issues, but it was also important to me to have, there's a little kid in my life that's all grown up now, and watch kids grow up like I did in the Mormon church. That was a big thing in the social activity. So I go more there for the support. We had a death in our family that was traumatic, and the whole church was there, and they laid out a spread better than any Relief Society could. I mean, it was just the support, the lifetime. We've been there, been going since I've been going since 89, she's been going longer. But it was just the lifetime community. And to me, it doesn't matter what church, as long as I was accepted, You felt.
I was raised Catholic, and I really believed it, and I did everything. I even joined a folk singing Catholic group to try to make it work, and nothing was working. And so I had nothing for a while, or I was like, I'm not Catholic, and that was an identity, but that's not a good identity to have. And so found the Unitarians pretty quickly. I started looking
Lucy
around,
got us
and
to go.
Lucy got us to go there, and it was like, wait, that's a good fit. So, yeah, and the focus is here and now, and what we do in this life, and that there's inherent worth and dignity in all of us, which fits beautifully with what I believe. And no rules about how to live life, but just that you're gonna treat one another according to that belief. And so it's very social justice focused, and so it's just had all of that. So when we first got together, I would wake up in the night. Maureen, I dated a little bit, but I wasn't really with a woman much before Maureen. So we got together, and then I'd wake up in a sweat in the middle of the night thinking I am going to hell, because that's what I was raised believing, and some of my family still believe, and that's really awful for them. And but I don't believe that anymore. But but it's a big, getting yourself through that is big, yeah, for sure.
Can you talk about your families a little bit, the support or the lack of support that you did or didn't get?
My family was very Mormon and very loving. 9 children. Women didn't really have sexuality, so it didn't surprise me when I wasn't attracted to men. Then my dates were just friends. I didn't bring them to my parents' house unless they were serious, but they were still my friend, And Brenda and I have been together for 35 years, and it was probably 5 years or so before they started thinking about it. But I never really came out to them at first. But they always, when they would introduce Brenda, I'm sure they knew, but they would always, to be able to explain to their friends, this is our adopted daughter. And they're gone now, but they always just said adopted daughter. So that was nice because she was accepted. But yet, there were things that, like my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, there was a quilt that was made with 9 squares with each of the families, each of the children and their spouses and their children. And here I was, just Maureen, and realizing right there that within a generation, Brenda's name is going to be erased. It doesn't get in any genealogy. So it's hard, but they accepted her as best they could. And then I think I was 47 when I finally told them out loud. And the reason why I did, there was the Amendment 3 was coming out, and I was active in calling people, doing stuff. And then I was driving to work on the voting day, and I'm thinking, you haven't done everything if you haven't called your parents, really. And so I called them, and I talked to my mom, and I explained to her about Karen Thompson, things that could happen. And what was really sweet, she says, well, Dad said you would have gotten a power of attorney. And Dad said you would have gotten this. And Dad said, it's like they love us. They don't understand. They didn't really accept it, but they talked amongst themselves, so they did the best they could. And then when I told them I was out, I said, I told them I was lesbian and that we were together. And I said, Mom, do you know I'm happy? And she said, yes. And then she said, so are you going to come over and play cards tonight? Change the subject, and that was it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I had that conversation.
And there's part of my family that, like I said, it just doesn't go with their beliefs. And so my youngest sister has always been in LA and been Sweden. Had wanted me around her kids, which others didn't. And so it's a hard thing, but I don't know, through the years it's just like everybody's got to do what they got to do, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And what we've done is create our own family. Yes. And so some of you guys are right here that are our family. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maureen, I think we need a really good laugh. Will you tell them about the horrible practical joke that Stan Penfold and I pulled on?
Oh, yeah. Help me remember what year that was.
I haven't got a clue on the year.
Okay. Well, Brenda and...
Explain who he is.
Yeah.
Well, Stan Penfold is an activist. He was head of the AIDS Foundation for a while, and now he's community council, and he's running for mayor. Mm-hmm. But at the time, he was a regular guy, and Becky and Brenda and Stan had a radio show concerning gays and lesbians.
That Becky had started long before that, and then we joined her.
Yeah. And so there were issues that they talked about, and I loved to go, and I would walk around. So I didn't have a radio station at work, technology was different in the 80s or whatever it was. So I was walking around my work. I made sure I wouldn't get interrupted by walking around taking walks listening to this every week. I loved it. But there was one week, I guess Brenda didn't show up for some reason. I don't know why, but it was
Halloween
thanks. Huh?
The Halloween show.
I know.
The best
It
show
was
of
the
the year.
Halloween show. So I'm expecting her to be there. And so I'm listening, and they're introducing, it sounds the same as every week, concerning gays and lesbians. And then, because it was a Halloween show, Brenda came dressed as a mummy. And even though Brenda wasn't really there, I think Becky will have to tell this story, but every time they'd ask Brenda a question, they would go, but she did the whole show as a mummy. I got such a kick out of that because I had no idea she wasn't there, and then, like, for a minute I thought she would take her mummy thing off, since it's a radio show.
Well, my favorite one was when I was teaching you guys how to do some Martha Stewart things, and I don't know that either of them would call themselves a femme, so I'm not sure they were very interested, but we did it on the air, and we did some Martha Stewart kinds of things.
The Martha Stewart show is a scream because she's telling us how to do decorations, and Stan and I are responding with, "Can you use a 2x4 for that?"
One other time we went to gay bingo, and they keep getting more elaborate, the collars and stuff, but at this time, Brenda wore the same outfit that the collars had.
Oh, no.
So
I
they
had
made
a drag queen outfit on. I didn't even know it.
So we've got a picture in that book of her with the drag queens, being, it was when leopard skin was like, oh.
It was in.
Yeah. But it was so funny that it
And you guys were a part of the square dancing group too.
Gay Lesbian
Right.
Square Dance group too, and Dan, where's Dan?
Dan's right here.
There he is. Oh yeah, he's filming. So we're gonna get him up here to talk another time, and he'll talk about that because he
Yeah.
really started that.
The reason why we didn't mention it is because so many things to talk about. We were picking, because it's the Historical Society, we were picking between 83 and,
Ancient history.
90, about 4. So
I can just say for myself, because I was a part of that, you invited a bunch of us to participate in the square dancing. I was so lost, I had no idea who was the male part, the female. And we were just, I mean, it was so light.
and the conventions are so fun because, like, you'll be thinking you're dancing, the male part, and you're like,
The lead.
the men are wearing dresses and the women are, it's just like you've got to pay attention to who you're partner with, and that's it,
I paid attention, I still couldn't tell.
That's fine.
But gay square dance a lot more fun than the
regular.
heterosexual ones I've seen.
We have a lot of fun. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
I'm just so impressed how brave you guys were.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a standing ovation.
Thank you so much for coming. I've known you guys forever, although I took a break and self-exiled to California for 20 years.
You did.
But
Glad you're back.
me too. You two were always such a joy to be around. You were so full of love and compassion and passion. And it seemed like no matter where I went, you two were there, and it was just, I loved those days back then. It was so much fun, and thank you so much for being your beautiful selves.
Thank you. It's the last Wednesday of every month. The next one's April 24th with Carol Gennady and Kate Kendall, and then May 29th with Peter Christie. So thank you for attending tonight, and cookies in the back. Please have some.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, no.